They then, as South Africans, asked us to say, because we talked about what happened here, to say, why don't you help us convene a conference, host it, to mobilize the world in the manner in which the anti-apartheid movement was mobilized globally, to assist us and support us in this struggle. And that mobilization, if you take the model of South Africa, it started in Britain, and Abdul Minty is not here now, but he's one of the last generation of people who were involved. 1959, as a boycott entity in the early 70s, constituted itself as an anti-apartheid movement. It caught fire throughout Europe, USA, Asia, and I always say when I went to Japan for the first time and found an anti-apartheid movement there, I knew it has gone very far. And they put pressure on their countries. And I use the example of the United States of America. Britain, France, USA supported it's a kith and kin story. They supported their brothers and sisters here who came from Europe and ignored us. And they were thoroughly racist and thought they were a chosen nation. They even developed a theology about being chosen, like Israelites says. They were using the same language. And we mobilized in those countries to make sure that they turn around. And the US ended up adopting a sanctions law. That's what we would like to do with Palestine. It's not going to come from governments, it's going to come from the people. I mean, I couldn't believe the way the US has got itself into a corner where they say, we won't give you arms if you go to Rafah. But the main funder of the Democrats says, you can't do that. And so a government is now beholden by those who have the power of resources, money, etc. We want to reach a stage where Biden would not even be able to listen to the person who's funding them. That's the level of crisis we would like to create. And so the people who were here were brought in, very learned people, experienced, wealth of knowledge, to go back home, mobilize. I will link up again to make sure we create a global movement. That's really what we wanted to do. The takeaways from the conference, it's in the declaration. We adopted a declaration, you'll get a copy. And that declaration is comprehensive. I don't need to go through it. You will be able to go through it. In terms of the plan of action, we agreed that the delegates who were here, I call them participants because they were not representing an organization, they came as individuals. They will take the declaration. We had regional meetings yesterday, North America, Africa, Asia, Europe, etc. And those are going to go back, organize more partners, those who are not here, to be part of them and be as inclusive as possible, and then come back to us and say, what are they going to do in their own countries? We link up and then we form a global entity. That global entity will then replace the steering committee of South Africa to take forward the struggle. And this is very urgent because people are dying. There's a genocide. So it's not something we're going to have 5-year plan. No, it's days plan, few months plan to make sure we achieve the objectives. I am pleased that we're able to achieve what we have achieved. We had representatives from every continent of the world here. We couldn't get everybody here because of resources. We could have got here many times more than the conference could take. And so this is the end of the conference, and we'll take questions and my colleagues will respond, and later our sister from the Jews for Free Palestine has something to read for us so that we can share that experience. I just want to say, because it's very important, we are not anti-Semitic, we are not racist, we don't discriminate. We are against the injustices committed by Israel, but we work together with everybody. I would like to stop at this, unless you want to add anything. Yeah? Why don't you just read that piece before the questions?
So as we know, the students in America and all over the world are doing encampments. And we who have come together at the Global Anti-Apartheid Conference on Palestine honor and applaud the brave students fighting the ongoing Nakba committed by the Zionist regime. As an international group from civil society gathered together in Africa, we applaud their commitment to a free Palestine and dismantling colonial structures. We call on them to increase pressure on government to force a permanent ceasefire and stop the genocide. While it is heartbreaking to see anti-democratic repression of solidarity activism by some governments, the courage of these students has given hope to so many in Palestine and around the world. Indeed, it is clear from the disproportionate responses to campus protests that oppressive political institutions are terrified of the power of this movement. They are especially terrified of the diversity and conviction of these student movements, which come from all backgrounds, ethnic, cultural, faith, gender, and sexual orientation. The students draw on their diversity as a source of strength and unity and show us the way forward to a world devoid of supremacist hate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take questions and answers. You'll help us, but do identify yourself so we know who we are talking to.
Questions? It seems for the first time the media is very happy.
Suleiman Lawal, TRT Arabic. My question is just one. After this conference, what's next? And what are you expecting from the world leaders? Thank you.
Can we answer that question? Yes, yeah, I will get others to follow.
Yeah, thank you. I suppose the response to a question like that is in two parts. The one is that this was a civil society conference. And so the idea is that from now on, all of the representatives of different civil society formations that were here go back to their countries and mobilize in their own environments towards two things. Firstly, that there would be, as the chair has spoken, we do need to emerge within a short space of time with a global committee that will oversee the next steps. But the second part is that there is a plan of action that enlists all of the civil society formations that were here to specific actions to escalate the isolation, the work, everything it takes to squeeze the regime, the Zionist regime, into a position of surrendering to the demand for freedom of the Palestinian people. And so there's that sense in which all of the delegates that were here came away inspired by the clarity of that call. And so we do expect that there will be movement across the globe in that direction.
Thank you. One of the things that the follow-ups that will happen, as Reverend Chikane read the committee, which is asking for volunteers to have a special conference on children in Palestine. And I think that's an aspect which I, as a children's literature activist, am interested in following up, because what happens to children is immediate, and their needs are urgent and immediate. And even in the midst of conflict, children, we need to find some way where children have some semblance of childhood. And that's a whole area of activism that needs to be addressed. And so that's something which I personally, as a patron, will try to volunteer for that committee to follow up on the work regarding children. I also think that, in the anti-apartheid struggle, we had an International Defense and Aid Fund, which had really people-to-people solidarity, where families around the world, mostly from the UK, actually supported families in South Africa through the legal trials and legal jeopardy that they were undergoing. So that's something which I think is a model from the anti-apartheid struggle that we can learn, that how do we mobilize resources to support people on a people-to-people basis, so that we never ever lose sight of the fact that these are human beings whose daily struggles must be supported, and their legal struggles is one area where we need to work on. And just generally in South Africa, I hope we'll follow up with the South African engagement, where our specific issues and our capacity as South Africans with relation not only to Palestine, but solidarity with the rest of Africa, that it's something that we're going to address. Thank you.
The South African BDS coalition has been working on isolating the Israeli state, and we will up our ante and carry on working and pressurizing the state, as well as industrial institutions and the public, to actually enforce boycotts, divestment and sanction, so that it put pressure on the Israeli state. We also have had a workshop with other people involved in BDS throughout the world. The Stop the Boat is a very big push, and we're going to look at sharing and understandings of how to actually affect these boycotts and actually intensify them.
We have two more questions. We'll go here and then.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Fatima from the Conference Media Committee. Two questions, really. One is, what do you think the role of the South African Academy is going forward, especially in support of our comrades and students in America? And the other question is, this is a great gathering of activists, but do we have any idea if there will be a follow-up to this gathering and when it will be? Thank you.
Can we take the two questions at once? Devin, can we take both questions now?
Repeat that question, ma'am. We didn't hear it properly.
Sorry. So this was an amazing gathering, and I'm curious to know if there will be another one and where and when it will be.
No. I think we're not going to determine whether there's going to be another one. I think people must do it. It's not, we can't move from meeting to meeting. We want work, we want action. And people must go back home, mobilize, use the declaration, act, and we coordinate our work in terms of action. If we end up with a conference, it would be either evaluation and sharing of information or launching some form of structure or whatever. But no, the focus is not conference to conference. The focus is on action that we need. You had the second question?
Regarding the academy, the role of the academy. So
Oh,
let's
yeah.
share two questions and then we'll go to the question at the back after.
Yeah, not, yeah. I mean, you know that, I mean, the processes that the United States has led on this one, the students, and it's starting in all sorts of other places, Europe, it will be in South Africa and other places. I mean, we'll support the students because they are critical. Young people are critical for building up the future. Are we hoping that more and more people get involved as well? You want to, yeah.
Okay. Yes, on that one, I can say that university councils have been engaged on this issue. And I'm on the Nelson Mandela University Council, and we've released a statement which is available to the media.
So we're getting to the bottom of how complicit our universities are and what disinvestment they need to effect, because we do not know yet how much they are invested into the Albert systems and Israeli regime. So the universities need to engage with disinvestment. They need to engage with boycotts of academia. The academic universities in Israel have supported the genocide. The doctors signed a petition that hospitals need to be attacked, and you cannot carry on collaborating with genocidal universities and academia. So it's not only support of American university students, it's actually effecting change within South Africa and within organizations like the PIC, where they have to disinvest if they are invested in Israeli stocks.
Maybe just to add the last point about, we know that all of the universities in Gaza have been destroyed, as well as the schools and other institutions. That means that the universities around the world would have to figure out how to collaborate with the people of Gaza and Palestine in general about how, in the interim, there is a way in which we remedy that situation of, and not only did they destroy the institutions, but the academics that were serving in those institutions have been killed. And so it's up to the academy to be seized with that priority, and hopefully that will happen as the work goes on.
I am Ahmed Hafiz from Al Jazeera website. I have one question. After this conference, what should Palestinian people will do, and what should focus on?
Well, let me take it from where you said you left it. We worked with Palestinians in consultation with them to prepare for this conference. We'll continue to interact with them. But we can't prescribe to the Palestinians as to what they do. I think Palestinians know what they want to do, and they will do what they are doing. We will be there to support them. I think that's our responsibility at this stage. They are in the fire, and we are outside that fire, and we need to be able to support them as much as possible. There are programs here which I'm not going to talk about, I mean, it's that program about accompaniment of Palestinians. Where there's trouble, there are people from the world who go and accompany them and watch what happens, but it doesn't stop the killing. They can watch and report, and we want to reach a stage where you can stop the killing, which means you stop the occupation, you stop the genocide, and then you let Palestinians to exercise their right in terms of self-determination. We can't also determine how they do it. We want to support them, but they must determine how they do it. I hope it answers the question, because yeah, and we'll continue in our way forward here. We said the steering committee will continue in consultation with Palestinians to determine the way forward. That's it? Yeah, thank you very much.
Eleanor, hi, how are you?
Are we done?
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And then